Now let me introduce our keynote speaker. Today's speaker brings a global perspective to his several roles in research administration leadership. He will share his thoughts on how and why higher education will need to evolve going forward. Such an appropriate topic, considering that most people in this audience play a role creating the data sets used to support operational evaluation, as well as long-term planning for institutions. In 2015, he was an inviter speaker to the United States Senate Committee on Indian Affairs and to the United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization in Rome. In 2017, he received the International Impact Award from Texas Tech's College of Agricultural Science and Natural Resources. In 2018, he served as the United States State Department World Learning Fulbright Specialist assigned to the Indian Institute of Technology. He also received a Fulbright Scholarship Lecturing Research Award in 2011 assigned to an Agricultural and Veterinary Medicine University in Romania. From 2017 to 2019, Northwest University in South Africa named him to a position of extraordinary professor. And in 2019, he was a visiting professor at the Universidade Federal de Lavras in Brazil and received an honorable mention, Global Vision Lifetime Achievement Award from the Office of International Affairs at Texas Tech. During his tenure at Texas Tech, a 10-year strategic plan was conceived and delivered, resulting in a shift of that institution to a research-intensive position. Dr. Weindorf was recently appointed Vice President of Research and Innovation at Central Michigan University, ranked 125th U.S. public university as assessed by U.S. News and World Report. Please welcome Dr. Weindorf.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished colleagues and friends around the world, good morning and welcome to the 2020 Pure International Conference. My name is David Weindorf. Again, I'm Vice President for Research and Innovation here at Central Michigan University, and I'm coming to you live from Mount Pleasant, Michigan this morning on a cool, crisp fall morning. I'd like to thank Elsevier for the opportunity to speak with you today. And today I'm going to be talking about research enterprise management and how higher education must evolve. Now, to begin, it's important for you to know just a little bit about my background. In fact, I didn't go to school to become a research administrator at all. In fact, far from it. You see, I'm a classically trained soil scientist, much like my grandfather before me. I studied soils at Texas Tech University years ago. I've worked in 32 countries around the world, published 170 peer-reviewed research papers, even produced an Emmy-nominated documentary film on climate change. My first academic post was at Tarleton State University, which is a small Texas A&M system school in Central Texas. After that, I went to Louisiana State University, which is a Carnegie Research One university, a large land-grant research university in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. After that, I went to Texas Tech, which is a Carnegie classification R1 university, but is a non-land-grant research-intensive university. And then recently, this past summer, became Vice President for Research and Innovation here at Central Michigan University, which is classified as a Carnegie R2 comprehensive university, which also has a medical school. So it's fair to say that I've seen higher education evolve a lot over my last 30 years in the academy. In the 1990s, when I was a student, publishing was encouraged, but it wasn't really required. We had to do something, but not necessarily publish. In the early 2000s, when I was a junior faculty member at Tarleton State, writing grants and publishing papers were considered important, but again, still not essential. But then I saw a big shift of things happen when I was a senior faculty member at LSU and Texas Tech. In fact, in 2013, when Texas Tech called and offered me an endowed chair, the department head was very candid about the changes that had taken place at the university since I was there 15 years prior. He said, I know years ago, Professor Allen used to take you to the field and do a lot of preparations with you and coaching the soils judging team. But today, I'm going to need you to take that time to write more publications and grants. No worries. We still won lots of accolades in soils judging. Well, what was the reason for this shift? I can say with confidence that at least within the United States, we see a steady erosion of appropriations for higher education. This effectively requires increased reliance on grants and tuition in order for us to fund our operations. There's also a disconnect between taxpayers and the research that we generate. I mean, if we're honest about it, most stakeholders, most members of the general public don't read peer-reviewed journals on a regular basis. So this underscores the importance of scientific communication. That is, specifically, we need to remain relevant to help the general public understand the importance of higher education in solving the big problems of the world. You know, things like developing a vaccine for COVID, tackling climate change, the production of clean energy, arresting pollution, finding a cure for cancer, the big stuff. Well, one thing just about all universities seek is to move up in the academic rankings. Now, there are many different types of ranking systems around the world. A couple of examples are the QS World Rankings, the Shanghai Ranking, which is known as the ARWU. You might have also heard of US News and World Reports. That's one that's commonly used here in the United States. Well, universities want to move up and attract more and better students. And they want to improve their academic and institutional reputation for grants. So, as an example, let's look at the QS World Rankings. Now, their rankings, 40% of that is based on academic reputation, another 10% on employer reputation, 20% on faculty to student ratio, 20% is based on citations per faculty, and another 5% each is attributed to international faculty ratio and international student ratio. So you can see in their weighting percentage, a full 60% of the ranking weight is due to academic reputation and citations per faculty. And then we have 10% of the ranking weight directly touching on international engagement. So if you think about it, this is kind of like the chicken and the egg, right? Publications and citations of important research build academic reputation, but to do so, researchers are drawn to universities with the best reputations and resources. Well, faculty today are also stressed, now more than ever before. There's this concept of constantly having to do more with less, and we certainly see that today. We need you to teach more classes and, because of the pandemic, maybe teach online. In fact, during the 2020 pandemic, I saw the perfect quote that encapsulates this. From the administration to the faculty, quote, "Please be prepared to teach online, in person, both simultaneously, on a moving train, while juggling, in a burning building, under the sea, during a wrestling match with a T-Rex, as a hologram while riding a unicorn. Also, be safe, and we value you." Clearly, you can see faculty are stressed. They have all kinds of things that they have to deal with. They're writing new grant proposals to purchase equipment, but then there's no support provided for long-term maintenance of that equipment. There are service expectations of engaged scholarships and other things. So I pose the question to you, can we, should we be all things to all people? And I would argue, no, we shouldn't. We don't have the resources to do so. And really, this stress that we're experiencing is at odds with the genuine joy and fulfillment most academics will tell you is why they joined academia. Heck, we can make more money in the private sector, but we do what we do because we love helping students learn and solve real-world problems. Well, let me tell you a quick story. When I was associate vice president at Texas Tech University, my boss, the vice president, calls myself and some other senior staff in one day around the conference table, and he rattles off all these statistics about F&A recovery, and we need to raise federal expenditures by X%. And he asked for ideas. People, I want to know, how are we going to communicate this to the faculty? Dead silence. Nobody said a word. And finally, I piped up and I said, listen, I'll tell you, you brought me in here for crazy ideas. Here's one. All of that technical language that you're using really makes the message lost. What are you really asking for? What you really mean is, can you give me a little bit more? Could you give me just a little bit more than you did last year? Could the faculty write one more publication than they did last year? Could they author one more grant proposal? Could a faculty member mentor one additional graduate student? Heck, could the football team get us one more win than they did last year? In Louisiana, we call this lagniappe. And in West Texas, it's known as a baker's dozen. But what it means is a little extra, a +1, if you will. Simple, understandable. In doing so, we have to consider the plight of the faculty. They want to know, what difference does one more paper or one more grant really make? because they need to know that their contributions are valuable to the institution. You also need to consider how your university compares with others. And believe me, having that knowledge is powerful. So at a conference like this, we talk a lot about research analytics. And, Elsevier is one of many platforms available out there today. Dare I say, one of the best and most comprehensive worldwide. These research analytics platforms identify areas of programmatic strength and weakness. For example, how can we optimize the efficiency of high achieving faculty? You have them on your campus. I have them on my campus. These are what we call the movers, shakers, and rainmakers. These type of analytics can also help us to identify faculty who are struggling. And oh, by the way, what are they struggling with? What are they challenged with? Do we have faculty that are highly productive who are a flight risk? Are they so frustrated with the situation that they might leave? In fact, do they feel like their contributions really even matter? We all want to feel a sense of noble contribution to the larger causes of education, research, and discovery. So what difference does +1 really even make? Well, research analytics remove some of the guesswork in determining scholarly output. Are these tools perfect? Nope. Are they 100% comprehensive? Not a chance. But are they an essential tool in the belt of the modern research enterprise? Absolutely. They can tell you things about your citation indices. They can help you build your academic reputation. They can help you focus resources, because we know identifying areas of programmatic strength or weakness can help you parcel those resources most effectively in a resource-limited environment. Universities often have well-intentioned vision statements to help guide them, but a vision statement without resources is what we call a hallucination. We have to apply these research analytics cautiously and in conjunction with other institutional information as well for a comprehensive understanding. But such tools will allow you to see how your university stacks up against competitors. So comparing your university to others, we call that benchmarking. You can undertake trend analysis, either programmatically or on an individual by individual faculty member status. You can look at scholarly output, international engagement, citation indices. You can help faculty to understand how their scholarship helps the university to advance. So I want to give you a couple of examples here of our university, Central Michigan, versus a competing institution, Western Michigan. Using advanced research analytics, we were able to determine that for the first time in 10 years, we have surpassed our rival in terms of total scholarly output. But do you know how much we've surpassed them by? 12 publications. 12. So when I convey a message like that to our faculty, what it lets them know is every single paper that is published on this campus means something. It is not lost in the shuffle of thousands and thousands of papers. Those 12 papers were the difference between us lagging behind another university versus leapfrogging them in the rankings. But we're also using these research analytics to do a kind of a fun engagement activity with our rival university. We're messaging out, quote, rivals on the football field, but partners in solving the world's real problems. And in releasing a press release like this, we're highlighting partnerships focused on joint research featuring our faculty working with theirs collaboratively to publish papers. Well, another way universities can capitalize on the use of research analytics is in making targeted hires. Let's be honest, startup packages for new faculty members are costly. In fact, if you're talking about startup packages in the sciences, these can be several $100,000 or even more. But the question remains, will these new faculty members be successful? Will this investment translate into benefits for the institution? And in many instances, it's a big gamble, one that doesn't always pay off. So again, using research analytics for making targeted hires reduces the uncertainty given the strong track record of performance of the hires that we're making. It also helps us to accelerate program advancement, quickly positioning a new program for success. Research analytics make finding these targeted hires easier. So let me give you a brief case study to investigate this further. You may have heard that in the United States of America, we have a presidential election upcoming 1 week from today. Well, let's say you need an expert as a panelist for a community summit on elections, foreign policy. Yeah, how do you find that person? I mean, you might know some people at your university who could comment on something like that. Those people at your university might even know some colleagues within the discipline who they could recommend. But what if you wanted the best, the absolute experts in the field? Well, one can use advanced research intelligence to identify authorities in the field of study. So here we're looking at Elsevier's SciVal product. We can easily see which countries are leaders in discourse on political science. We can also identify individual experts within the field of study. We can sort this information by country, keyword, evaluate their scholarly work instantly. Additionally, we can use Elsevier's Pure profiles to easily search a scholar's fingerprint. We can see their H indices, their citations and scholarly output over time. We can quickly, easily identify experts, and we can promote our own faculty and institutional expertise. So I would make the argument to you that universities without these tools are at a distinct disadvantage. Universities having an easily searchable database such as these predispose themselves to enhanced collaboration and promote their scholars' academic works. Some universities are even promoting their funding and patents and nationally meritorious honors like Fulbright or National Academy members using these types of platforms. Well, let me give you another example. Here in the state of Michigan, roughly 2 weeks ago, authorities uncovered a militia plot to kidnap and potentially kill our governor, Gretchen Whitmer. A local radio station called my office and asked how they could find an expert to comment on domestic terrorism. Using a system like Pure, that information is only a few clicks away, and it's constantly up to date. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, we could just do this internally, right? We just hire a couple of computer science folks, and then we're off and running, right? But I guarantee you that the downfall of doing it that way is, as soon as you click enter with your database, that information's out of date. Your hundreds, if not thousands of faculty members are constantly publishing new papers, right? And new books, new book chapters. You have faculty coming to your university, some faculty leaving your university. You can't possibly keep all of that information up to date, which is why the use of these platforms is so critical. Well, another example of research intelligence, and its really good use, is international engagement. Now, by international engagement, I'm not talking about traditional study abroad, okay? Every university has this. What I'm talking about is something like research study abroad, which is a program that I promoted at Texas Tech University. In this program, we're going out specifically looking for universities abroad that we can engage with, trying to identify which international universities will provide maximum impact in terms of collaborative grantsmanship, publications, faculty exchange, because we know all too often agreements are handshake photo ops with little tangible output. We want to use research intelligence for international student and faculty recruitment to identify Fulbright and Erasmus opportunities. We want focused effort on collaboration, publication with international authorities in the field. So why is international engagement so critical? Well, remember, 10% of that ranking system that we talked about concerned international engagement. It's fair to say that today we live in a global society. I'm talking to people right now all around the world, where scholarly discovery and advancement know no political boundaries. Beyond that, papers featuring international engagement are published in better journals and garner more citations than those that are generated from a single campus or even within a single country. And of course, this has important impacts on academic reputation. Here you see a paper by Smith et al. In the journal PLOS ONE from 2014, elucidating those exact facts. Diversity within the academy writ large is the spice and beauty of academic life. And yes, the irony of an American talking about global engagement is not lost on me. But I will tell you, I am a scientist and an academician. So for me, global engagement has always been in my DNA. Well, a final example of optimal research intelligence use is for attracting attention in today's innovation nation. You know, innovators want to quickly assess experts. They want quick access to experts. Where do we find that information? How do we approach a university? These private and academic collaborations foster invention disclosures, commercial licensing, startup companies. All of these interactions boost the academic reputation of the institution and the impact of jointly developed intellectual property. We have to realize innovation moves quickly. Universities have to be nimble. They have to be easy to find. Heck, here in Mount Pleasant, our Central Michigan University Research Corporation is a partnership between private industry and the university, where you have groups like Prism Analytical and the Star Lab occupying the space and effectively growing together. So the tools we have at our disposal today are essential in managing and optimizing the modern research and innovation enterprise. And I can promise you that the model that has sustained us over the last 30 years will not get us to mid-century. It just will not. We have to change. We have to evolve. We have to grow. We have to redefine our priorities. And a big part of this is creating an aspirational culture. You know, it's often said that fortune favors the bold. And by fortune favoring the bold, I'm not talking about financial fortune here, rather genuine prosperity. In creating an aspirational culture, we need to be sure that change represents advancement, not just change for change's sake. The classic example I love to give of this is Microsoft Word, right? That program's been around for 25 years, and I guarantee you, every new release, all they do is move the buttons around in different places and put them in different menus, and it does the same thing it's done for 25 years. That's just change for change's sake. That's not really advancement, right? We also need to move at the speed of science with deference to humanity. I want all of you to know that the work that we do is important work. Indeed, it's life-altering work. So because of that, we need to move quickly, efficiently, optimally. You know, I was recently talking with a pediatric oncologist who'd given me a tour of the hospital in which he works. And he said to me, you know, Dr. Weindorf, we have lots of protocols to review, and I know we have policies to revise, but be quick about it, because truly the lives of the kids that I treat hang in the balance. Creating an aspirational culture means distinguishing the trendy and the hype from the substance and gravitas. You know, hype comes and goes, but solid results stand the test of time. I call upon you to push your organization to achieve more than they thought possible, but don't push people over the edge. And the balance is different for each person. Be sensitive to that. And when your faculty do achieve these new heights, and they will, recognize and celebrate their success, because everyone wants to feel valued. I'll conclude my remarks with this. Every university has its own unique values, its unique administrative perspective and culture. I call upon you to understand the role of your research and innovation enterprise in the larger scope of your university. You need to consult with your president and your rector. You need to consult with your board of trustees and your board of governors. Realize that many of them have people coming at them from every angle, many different competing interests, and they have to deal with all of those, right? So pictured here on the slide is President Bob Davies. This is the president of Central Michigan University. And he and I regularly talk about what information he needs to make informed decisions for the best interests of the university. So as you participate and learn in this conference over the next several days, my hope is that these words will sink deep into your bones. And don't let anyone ever tell you differently. That you have greatness within you. Know it, grow it, and show it every day. Thank you so much. Be well. Be in touch and wear your mask.
Hello, David. Thank you so much. That was a really inspirational start to the conference. And I think some of the things you've talked about, we can really relate to wherever we are in the world. So I think we have time. We've got about 10 minutes for some questions before we move on to the next one. One thing I wanted to ask you, you talked about the importance of metrics, about measuring everything that we're doing at institutions right now. Do you have a sense about how we as institutions can balance that need between strong measurement of university performance and a responsible approach to metrics, which is talked about so much now, and how we can use the tools to kind of help with that and make sure we're not disadvantaging any groups?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And what I'll tell you is, honestly, I think research metrics are important, but they don't capture everything that defines academia. I mean, we have certain disciplines here that are performance-based, they're artistry-based, they are different kinds of scholarly creative activity. We oftentimes use that term, scholarly and creative activity. So the best way that I can answer your question is to say that I find research metrics to be a tool in the tool belt of the modern research enterprise, but not the only tool. We need to use other institutional information, and we need to engage with colleagues in many different ways to find out what they're doing, how their contributions are valuable to the university, and we can certainly have research metrics as a part of that.
Great, thank you. One of the things you talked about around your 12 additional publications, how do you talk about in the institution the difference between kind of quantity and quality? That's something we have discussions about a lot, is saying, do we want to just get more research outputs out there, or actually how do we want to improve the quality?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So one of the statistics that we are constantly monitoring is the field-weighted citation impact, or FWCI. And for those that are unfamiliar with FWCI, in any given discipline or field of study, the worldwide average is calculated as 1.00. So if your number is above 1.0, that means that your faculty are publishing in more impactful journals than the worldwide average. And conversely, if you're less than 1, they're less than the worldwide average. So this is a number that we want to see constantly increasing. And what we've done at our university is certainly look at that FWCI number for the university as a whole, but then we've also disaggregated different departments and colleges and identified which specific units within our university are helping to boost that number and which units might be dragging that number down somewhat. So for the units that are dragging it down somewhat, I can go to those faculty and I can say, hey, are there more impactful journals that have a higher impact factor that you could potentially publish in? So that will be a good way that they could potentially help boost that FWCI number for our university as a whole. And by the same token, for the faculty who are above that 1.00 and are already helping us in terms of FWCI, again, we constantly have a message with our faculty of really go for the best journals. When we look at how journals within any field of study are organized, there's quartiles, right? Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. If you have a faculty member who's kind of doing really well but publishing in Q2 journals, I want to encourage that faculty member to try to shoot for that Q1 journal, because it will be more impactful, it will reach more people, and ultimately it will help our scholarly and academic reputation.
Thank you. Just following on from that, you mentioned the kind of joy and fulfillment that academics have for their work. That's why they're doing it. How do you find when talking to academics about measuring their research, about citations, things like that, are there ways that you find that it's helpful to engage with them? Do you find them positive about doing this? Do you think that they're buying into the same challenges that we know we have?
Yeah, I think it's really important to let them know that that work that they're doing is important. It's not just bean counting. That's not it. They want our university to raise its reputation. We want to move up in the rankings, and we know how to do that. It's not a secret. The secret is you have to publish more, right? You have to publish in better journals. You have to engage your graduate students. As it comes to the genuine joy that faculty experience working in academia, I can tell you one of the moments that I love the most is working with a student when they publish their first peer-reviewed paper. That is just a moment that is like, they'll write home and tell their parents about it. They'll tell all their friends about it, and they will never forget that feeling, right? And so we have the opportunity in academia to experience that time and time and time again with continuously new students that we're having come through our classrooms and our research labs. So, being sensitive to that and realizing that although we've done it a lot, it is going to constantly be new for new students. And that requires mentorship and requires imparting to them as young professionals the importance of advancing knowledge and information in our different disciplines. We've often talked at our university about how it's important to do research, it's important to have scholarly discovery, but if we don't take that information and get it out there, then what was the real value of doing it? We need to share it with people. We need to do that through a thesis or a dissertation, but beyond that, publishing in high impact factor journals or writing books or doing those kinds of things that share that information with the world.
Great, thank you. So a question we've got come through. Do you think universities should come together in communities to provide the public with easier one-stop shops to find experts? You've talked about what you did about finding experts within your institution, but do you think there's a way we can come together as groups of institutions to do that, and what the benefit of that would be?
Yeah, I think that's definitely something that could be looked at. For instance, our university just joined the World Affairs Council of Western Michigan, and I think there are 12 or 13 universities that are a member of that. And so, I'm just going to use this international engagement aspect as kind of an example. When people in the general public are looking for where can I go to get help interpreting what a new international policy or trade policies or things like this look like, going to an organization like that where we have multiple universities with faculty with lots of different background and expertise coming to the table and saying, hey, we're all members here, let's work together. Maybe we have some joint summits or conferences, things like that. I really believe those kind of synergies are very, very valuable for the general public.
Absolutely. I think actually just so on the general public side of things, we talk about use of measurement and metrics. We all know what we're talking about. How do you make sure that we can articulate the importance of the research and what universities are doing to the wider public who maybe don't understand the kind of the way we are talking and measuring?
Yeah, I think this kind of underscores what we're talking about in terms of scientific communication. Taking what we do and translating this into information that is impactful for the general public. So I want to give you an example from kind of my past life as a soil scientist. When you work at a land grant university, there's an important component of the university called agricultural extension. And the focus of the agricultural extension service at these land grant universities is to take research that is developed in laboratories at the university and translate it into useful information for farmers and ranchers in producing more crops, right? So this might be things like fertilizer rate or, disease resistance or drought tolerance or these kinds of things. And, the work that is done at the university can be very technical, but having that translational piece, that communicative piece, that really takes those important results that we're doing and translates those into impactful, meaningful results for the general public is so important. And I would say it's especially important at state institutions, that survive off of tax dollars, because members of the general public are paying taxes, and those taxes in some instances go to fund our universities. So they want to know that those taxes that they're paying actually go just to something meaningful.
Super. Thank you so much, David, for your time. It's been really good fun. And opening a conference like this is always a scary prospect, isn't it? So thank you very much.